move for justice indeed lies in collective responsibilities, which requires integrity and commitment on the part of all parties concerned to engage in action that ensures social, cultural, and economic rights to all humanity, including those of the indigenous peoples of the world. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I'd like to thank the representative of the Zoe Reunification Organisation for your statement. And I now give the floor to Tonatierra.
Foro Permanente de las Naciones Unidas para las Cuestiones Indígenas, 14ª sección, 20 de abril hasta el día 1 de mayo 2015. Tema 7 de la agenda: los derechos humanos con enfoque de derechos económicos, sociales y culturales. Ayotzinapa, Tonatierra.
Dear members of the Permanent Forum and assembled Indigenous peoples, first of all, we wish to extend our congratulations to the newly elected president of the Forum and offer our heartfelt appreciation to all present, including the spirit of those of our ancestors and future generations. We call upon them now, especially those who have been taken from us unjustly before their natural time, and we call upon their spirits to guide our work here together as we strive to fulfill our mandate as Indigenous peoples of Mother Earth. We call upon the Permanent Forum to address the issue of the forced disappearance of the 43 Normalista students of Ayotzinapa, Guerrero, Mexico, missing since September the 26th, 2014. And we recommend that the Forum take appropriate measures regarding the impunity under which this atrocity has been sanitized by agents of the state, both nationally and internationally. We specifically call upon the country of Mexico to invite the United Nations Special Rapporteur on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples to come to Mexico and meet with us regarding the issue of the ongoing enforced disappearance of Indigenous youth in Mexico, the deliberate and systematic use of torture, and all forms of state violence against Indigenous peoples. Madam Chairperson, our recommendation on this particular agenda item related to human rights addresses the need for the mechanisms of the UN system as a whole to be brought into a process of alignment that will eventually produce systemic reform to address the basic recognition of our right to self-determination as Indigenous peoples equal to all other peoples. Implicit in this statement, a fundamental principle articulated in the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples is the recognition of our inherent right of self-determination and the exercise of that right not only within the context of the UN system, but beyond, into the realm of reality that is the agenda of our original nations of Indigenous peoples of Mother Earth. Working towards this goal, we state that the mechanisms established within the UN system in terms of economic, social, and cultural rights will not be competent to assure or deliver protections for the full, free, and effective exercise of these rights until the underlying issue of colonization of the original nations of Indigenous peoples is brought forward as a violation of United Nations General Assembly Resolution 1514 of 1960, along with the decolonization mechanisms specified in UN Resolution 1541. We make this point in support of the call for the United Nations Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues to move towards a methodology of decolonization with a systemic approach that also emerges from the cognition and then thus recognition that the UN system itself, as are all institutions of mortal humans, is also tied to the cycle of birth, life, and death that is the nature of reality and the reality of nature for all beings on this our home planet, our sacred Mother Earth. We have heard earlier in this session the tragic stories of how our children, our youth, our families and nations have been affected by the internalized violence normalized by the social, cultural, and economic paradigms of domination that are the reality of the ongoing colonization and genocide of our indigenous nations today. In addressing this issue, we call upon the UN Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues to serve as an exemplary platform within the UN system to allow the concept and identity of indigenous peoples as peoples equal to all other peoples be instituted without the system-wide discrimination, whether planned or not, that reduces our participation within the UN system to the category of indigenous issues, as is still evident in this 14th session of the forum, in spite of repeated interventions on this recommendation over the many years. Thank you, Madam Chair. They were taken alive. We want them back alive.